In today's video, I will show how you can take any PDF and turn it into a structured data with the help of AI and N8N. And I have been building this workflow over and over again for many different clients because many businesses apparently face the exact same issue. They get a lot of PDFs in their emails from their colleagues, and they have no good way of storing that data somewhere unless someone copy pastes that into a Google Sheet or into a database. So in order to stop doing that, I'm going to show you how you can build a workflow that basically gets all of the PDFs from your Google Drive, then extracts the data with AI and adds that data into a database. In this case, I'm going to use Airtable, but you can use anything you want. It could be Google Sheets, it could be Notion, could be ClickUp, or MySQL database. Basically, you can do this with anything you want. So without further ado, let's jump to my computer screen. And right away, you can see a workflow. It's actually very simple, very straightforward. I'm gonna show everything step by step, how you can get this done. But what it does, so in this case, for example, I have this Google Drive. It took this particular invoice from my Google Drive. And again, you can do this not only with invoices, you can do this with any type of PDF that has images, text, whatever, tables, graphs. You can do that with anything. And then it extracts all of the detail from this PDF that was uploaded to the Google Drive, and it puts everything into Airtable in my case. So as you can see, it extracts invoice number, invoice date, supplier name, supplier address, the total amount of the invoice, and then it separates line items that you can, for example, expand, and you can see, let's say, all of the line items that are attached to this invoice. So in this case, unit price, we see the quantity, the total price, and to which invoice it is associated. So if I go in here, I can see the data of the line item separately. So as you can see, this is very cool, very straightforward, or at least it's very cool to me because these boring things excite me anyway. But this is the workflow that's going to be responsible for that. So if you want to see it live in action, what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all of the records from here. Then I'm going to delete this particular record like so. And since we already have the file uploaded, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit test workflow, and it's going to extract all of the data and it's going to put it in the Airtable. By the way, I forgot to mention that you can actually download this exact workflow from the link down below in the description, or to my newsletter subscribers. I send each week my latest workflows for free. So if you want to get this workflow and the upcoming workflows for free, subscribe to my newsletter. Okay, so now we're back and the workflow finished running. I just had to, cut this part because it actually takes some time to get everything done, but it still takes faster than you do it by hand. So if we go, we can see right away that we have the same data in here and the same items from the invoice. So let's start basically building the exact same thing. What I'm gonna do is I'm probably gonna go to, maybe I'm gonna move this to the side like so. Sorry for being disorganized here. Then let's go sign in into my workspace, and let's start building it completely from scratch. So in this case, I'm actually going to be using LlamaParse, which you probably already seen. So if you go into cloud.llamaindex.ai, you will be brought to this window. And if you go into the parse and playground, you will actually see that there are a lot of options when it comes to parsing your PDFs. Right now, it's only balanced, and this is the playground, but you can add custom option, and then there are a lot of things that you can pre-configure for the PDF parsing. So a lot of output formats, pages to parse. You can even output formatting, parsing options. You can even add prompts for the parser. So there are quite a lot of options in the playground. Unfortunately, I'm not going to go through all of them because that would take a lot of time, and I want to keep this as simple as possible. But just to check how the playground works, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drag and drop the same PDF file. I'm gonna click parse, and this is very useful and helpful for testing, seeing what outputs you are getting when you're working with PDFs or preparing, to do a automation build. And as you can see, this extracts the data that's very easy to copy, very easily organized, and then can be passed to AI. And again, you can pretty much configure however you want many of these options, which I'm not going to show because that's going to take too long and going to be too complex. I want to keep this as simple as possible. So let's get back to my workflow, and I'm going to start from the Google Drive. In the Google Drive, all I'm going to do is select on changes involving a specific folder, and I'm going to pick a folder that's should be invoice parsing with AI, watch for, file, let's say created. Let's fetch test event, and here we are. We have the document because, as you remember, I had previously uploaded in here. So yeah. Now another thing we need to do is to actually download this file, for which we're going to use Google Drive again, and then download file node. In here, operation download file. So instead of using from list, what I'm going to do is going to select by ID and then select expression and just drag and drop, not the parents. Let me see. I actually forgot. Which was it? This should be the ID from here. And let's test it. Yep, that was the right one, cpbsoftware.pdf. We got the file, which is amazing. Now, the next thing we need to start doing is actually configuring the LlamaParse. And for that, we're going to use the HTTP request node. So in here, select, first of all, maybe let's rename it. Let's name it LlamaParse upload. This is going to be basically the node that's responsible for uploading the file to LlamaParse. Then select method post. And actually, let's not select anything. Let's configure it from scratch. So for example, let's say I'm going into the first time into the documentation. I would go here, then I would go into the API reference, and then, or maybe docs. Yeah, I would go into the docs, and then I would select parse and getting started with LlamaParse. Or if you don't want to jump through hoops, just go to docs.cloud.llamaindex.ai/LlamaParse/getting started. Now click on API, and this is going to have all of the curl options for LlamaParse. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, then I'm going to head back into NA10, and I'm going to click on import curl and just going to paste that the whole value and click import. And just like that, it actually configured the HTTP request. So we have the method post, we have the right URL to which we should be uploading the file. Then it automatically picked the authorization for us, where you would have to add your API key. So replace this variable. And to do that, you would go back into LlamaParse, which is, I'm just going to delete this, and I'm going to delete this. I'm going to go in here. Then you would go into the API keys. You would click on create API key, and you would copy this value. And then you would just simply replace this variable. But since already have a predefined authentication, generic credentification type, I'm going to select header auth, and over here, I'm going to select LlamaParse. So that way you don't see my API keys. Then we have the body content type, which was form dash data, N8N binary file type, and then name file, which is exactly as we need. So the only thing that's left is adding the data key. And the data key is this one that you can see in orange that appears above the file, and that is data. So I'm entering data. And if, for example, I now hit test step, I will see that I've created a job, or how do they call it in LlamaParse? I think it's a job, or yeah, a job. So I've created a job in LlamaParse, and right now this is basically in the background extracting all of the data. So based on the documentation next, our job is to check the parsing job. So let's copy this curl. Let's go back into N8N, and then again, HTTP request, like so, import curl, and then paste what we copied, import. And again, now we have everything pre-configured. The method was selected, the headers were selected. Again, you would need to replace the API key, but since I'm gonna use already created credentials, what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna select Llama Parse, like so. And for body, we have nothing. So the only thing that's left is actually replacing the job ID in this spot, because we need to know exactly for which job ID we need to check if the status of a job is finished. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna delete this, turn it into expression, and I'm gonna drag this ID from the previous node, like so. Then I'm gonna rename it. Maybe it's gonna be Llama Parse status check. Rename it like so. And okay, let's test this step. Okay, it's a success. That means the job has finished. However, if you remember, in my workflow, I had an ifs node that had two paths, and that was because if let's say the file is very, very large, or maybe not large at all, but we make a request too quickly, it might be that the status of a job is not going to be success, it's going to be pending. For that we actually need to add an error handler, so we would wait for some time and then would check the status again. So if we're not going to do that, let's for example test workflow and see if it spins, let's say very fast. And if we get, let's say, status pending, yeah, so for example, we got the status pending, and that means if we proceed with the status pending, we would get the error in the next step. So in this case, we're gonna build an error handler with if, or not an error handler, but just a polling mechanism. So for this, what I'm gonna do is from status check, I'm gonna drag the status and is equal, let me check, it should be success. Success. So when it's equal to success, it's going to go to true. When it's false, it's going to go to false route. So for false, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add wait node, like so. Maybe we can add 5 seconds. Maybe we can increase it to 10 seconds. And then we're going to route it back to the status check. So let me just pin this data so we wouldn't start a new job, just for the testing purposes. And now test the workflow. And now it's going to go to wait node because we got the status pending. It's going to wait for 10 seconds and then going to try to check the job again. And if it hasn't been finished. So yeah, so now basically we're waiting. It's gonna again, oh, it's actually third time. Okay, I'm gonna stop because this is an infinite loop. Sorry guys. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna unpin the data to show you how it would actually work. And then I'm gonna leave this pin so we wouldn't keep uploading over and over again. Just for the testing purposes, I'm gonna test this again. And now it should be a success, which is which it is, and it goes to the true route. Great. So the next step is to configure an additional Llama Parse node. So let's go HTTP request. Let's pick this. Then let's go back to the documentation, and we have the last step, which is retrieve results in markdown. So I'm going to copy the results. I'm going to go back into NA10 and again import curl, paste the details, and we have again the method, the URL, the authorization, which again I'm going to remove. I'm going to select my already predefined authorization, which is going to be Llama Parse, and then the only thing we need to replace is the job ID over here. So I'm going to delete this, and then I'm going to take the job ID from the if node that got passed, and here we're going to type it in and name it get parsed data, like so. Rename it and then test the step, and like so, right away we got the markdown data. Unfortunately, it is not structured and we can't really do anything right now with it. It's the same as watching into PDF, or even worse, because it's harder to read. But for that, what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna set up an LLM chain, and this LLM chain is gonna be responsible for turning that data into a structured data. So maybe let's first configure the model. For this, I've actually used DeepSeek reasoning model because it's very cheap and it's a reasoning model, so it works really well. Then the next thing we need to do is actually require a specific output format. This can be done in many different ways, but for example, I'm getting this markdown over here, and I need to extract a structured data. What I could do is I could go into OpenAI. Let me check if I have it open on another window, which I should have it. Oops, all of the things happening all at once for me. Okay, so we have this, and for example, let's go. Okay, so I copied this, or I didn't. So let's just copy this, paste it, and for example, say I have a markdown extracted from PDF. I want to turn this into a structured data, and I need to extract invoice details and line item details. Please create a JSON structure for this that I will use in NA10 output parser, like so. And then what would happen is that, of course, you could explain it in way more detail than I did, but it's gonna give you an example JSON that you can use to basically then have structured data, because this is exactly what I've done in my previous build. So it gets the invoice data, it gets the customer invoice details, the line items in an array. So then you can basically reuse the structure over and over and over again for many different line items. So for that, now, since I already have my structure that I needed, I'm just gonna copy from my previous build. I'm gonna go here and select structured output parser, paste it in like so. So let's just expand it. You can see it's very simple actually. I have the invoice number, invoice date, supplier, then the total amount, tax amount, currency, and the line items. And then the last thing we need to do is actually add prompts. So the first prompt that I'm gonna paste in, I'm gonna show to you, is gonna be the system prompt. So we're gonna get into LLM chain and then system prompt expression, expand it, and paste like so. So as you can see, I'm gonna say here, you will receive a parsed invoice in markdown format. Your task is to extract the following information from the entire document: company name, supplier address, whatever. Then important guidelines. So I say only extract data explicitly mentioned in the markdown input, never guess or fabricate missing data. Always ensure that all required fields are present in the output. Leave a field blank or null only if the input clearly omits it. 3. Validate the consistency of totals and calculations. Ensure line item totals match quality and unit price. Do not include any additional commentary or explanations. So we've done that, and now in the user prompt, what we can say is this is parsed invoice data, like so. Again, expression, and just drag this over here. And as you can see, we will have all of the markdown like so. So now the next step, so again, I'm gonna actually pin this data just for the testing purposes. And the next step would be to run the LLM chain with the DeepSeek reasoning model. So this usually takes some time, but now what it's going to do is going to analyze all of that markdown. It's going to extract basically the customer details or the client details, the invoice information. I'm going to add that in a nice structured output. And from that point on, we're ready to actually add all of that data into Airtable. And that way we're going to have a database of all of the PDF information that basically keeps updated whenever we upload a file, so we never have to manually extract it. And I keep talking because this runs for a very long time with the DeepSeek reasoning model. So you can use like 4.0 mini. It's going to be much faster. But what I've noticed, 4.0 mini with OpenAI, but what I've noticed is that the accuracy is going to be lower as well. So let's just be a bit patient. But in the meantime, I think we can start, or maybe not let's start. Let's just wait. All right, we finished extracting the data. So let's double click on here and we can see we have the invoice number, the invoice date, supplier. I have something in my face, total amount, tax amount, currency, line items. So nice. Now we can actually set up Airtable node. And for this, we're going to use create a record. So from the base, we're going to select parse PDF structured data, I think. Should be the base. Yeah. And then table is going to be invoice. And we're going to have to map the fields. So for the invoice number, let's just drag and drop invoice. Easy as that. Invoice date, let's drag and drop in here. Then supplier name. So name, supplier address, the total amount. I'm going to select the total amount, currency, euros, and then line items. We're going to keep this empty for now. And one thing, good catch, is actually that for this, we need to go into options and select typecast and enable this. This is going to prevent us from having errors. So I'm going to click test step. Actually, I'm going to pin this data so we wouldn't need to wait in like more, but click test step and we have it. So if I go into Airtable, I'll go back, refresh it. You can see we have the exact same record attached, just we don't have line items yet. So the next thing we need to configure is actually adding the line items. So for here, now I'm going to use an edit node to configure the output the way that we actually need. So the first thing that we're going to set is going to be invoice record. And for this, I'm going to just select the ID. Then another field is going to be line items. We're going to select an array. And in here, then we have to go into the basic LLM chain. And I think we have to select this one like so. I think that's right. And then, oh, that's it. So let's test the step. Great. We got the line items, which are in an array. So the next step we need to do is actually go and split out the nodes. And here, I'm going to just drag the line items test the step, and voila, we have all of the line items. So the last step is actually just adding all of those line items again in Airtable and then linking them to the original invoice. So again, let's select our base. Let's select the line items table in this case. Sometimes it takes a while to load line items like so. And then for each, let's drag a description. Oh no, I picked the wrong node. You have to select that from the split out. So description, quantity, unit price, total price, and now we have to link it to the invoice. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna type in, yeah, let me check. I think I remember. Yeah, I need to type in these brackets, then quotes, and in here I'm gonna type drag and drop the invoice record. That way we're gonna link each line item to the original invoice. And if I hit test step and then go back to line items, I can see that technically we have the same invoice, but we attached new line items to this invoice, which is, you know, amazing and great. So now what we can do is go back. And again, I have pinned data, of course, but what we can do is just execute the whole workflow and then go step by step and see how it works. So again, I have pinned data. This happened much faster, but then if you go back, you can see that we have the invoice and we have the line items. So again, if you want to get this workflow, there's a link in the description down below where you can download it from Gumroad, or if you want to get my latest workflows for free, I'm going to send them to my newsletter subscribers. So subscribe to my newsletter. And if you enjoyed watching this video, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next one.